So you want to start playing D&D, but you're not quite sure where to start. Well, in today's video, we're going to do a short guide on how to get started.
Going on an adventure!
Before learning any of the rules, picking up a paper, or rolling some dice, the first thing you need to do is decide if D&D is right for you, and then you can choose your path. The path I'm talking about, of course, is whether you want to be a player, the person who chooses their class and race and sticks with a specific character throughout the campaign. Or you can choose to be the Dungeon Master, the person who builds the world, acts as the NPCs, and plays as the monsters. Both pathways are fun, but it is up to you to choose which one is right for you. Being a player character requires you to first build a character. Most of this you will do by yourself, but when it comes to rolling the stats, your DM may want to help. There are several source books where you can choose your race, your class, and your background. You will get to choose how tall you are, how much you weigh, what languages you speak, as well as a full backstory where you will describe your character's life before the campaign even started. We will take a much deeper dive into character building in a later video. If being a player character sounds right for you, then good news, you're already on the right path. If you're still not sure, then maybe being the Dungeon Master is the right path for you. Now don't get me wrong, being a Dungeon Master is no easy task. Being a Dungeon Master is a hobby all on its own, but it will quickly get you into other hobbies such as collecting and building miniatures, terrain, or even making great maps for you and your players to explore and flesh out together. Dungeons & Dragons is a role-playing game, but it is also about collective storytelling for you and your players. We will take a deeper dive into becoming a Dungeon Master in a later video.
I am a Dungeon Master.
Now that you know about the two paths you can choose to take, we'll go ahead and go over a short list of the things that you'll need to get started playing the game. Number 1, you're going to need pens or pencils, and you can never have too many. And number 2 on the list is a set of RPG dice just like these. You can find them at any local game store, or you can find them online for pretty cheap. And let's be honest, you can't have too many dice, can you? The most important dice in this set is your D20. Just watch out for natural ones. Just make sure you don't skip this step, because nobody wants to be the person asking for dice every time you play. The third thing you're going to need is a character sheet. You can find these online, or your DM should have them on hand, but if not, D&D Beyond is a good place to look. Your character sheet is such an important piece of equipment to have. It lets you know what your character can and cannot do, and we'll go over how to fill this out in a later video. Number 4, core rulebooks. If you're just a player, all you need is a player's handbook. Now, if you're the Dungeon Master, this is where things could start to get a little pricey. You're going to need a Dungeon Master's Guide, as well as a Monster Manual, and a player's handbook. These books should be more than enough to get you started, but when you're ready to expand, there's more supplements, such as Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, Volo's Guide to Monsters, Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Or if you're not entirely sure you want to play yet, you can always get the starter set. The starter set contains everything you need to get started playing the game right away, and also comes with a pre-written adventure as well as pre-made characters. The starter set comes with its own set of dice and can be found at most retailers for under $25. Number 5 is the Dungeon Master screen. The Dungeon Master screen is what separates you from the players. This is where you'll put your notebooks, your core rule books, and there's usually a chart on the back to help with commonplace rules. I also like to keep a laptop back here. It helps to set the scene and build immersion. Number 6 is a notebook or any kind of paper. It doesn't have to be anything special. This is just for you to take notes about the campaign. Now, number 7 is optional. Your DM may require you use a mini to represent your character, and if you're the DM, it's best to have a battle mat just in case. As a visual example, here are just a few of the minis from 2 of my campaigns on a 1-inch battle mat grid. As I said before, the battle mat is optional, as you can always use Theater of the Mind to represent combat. If you do choose to go down the road of collecting miniatures and building your own terrain, I will have guides on both of these topics. One thing to keep in mind is when you start buying minis, it is a slippery slope, and you may find yourself buried in plastic. And last but the most important thing of all, you're going to need people to play with.
I need friends.